Hello everyone, it's your host Nick LaRovere for TotalStoryteller.com. Tonight is movie night, and I'm going to review one of my past short films called Sacramentum and explain why it does and does not work. So this short film is a funny little short film. It's before I learned how to do the directing thing. I'm kidding. I'm still learning, but this was when I didn't really have a visual planning process. This is something I've talked about in blog posts in different places. It's super important as a director that you do visual planning in one form or another. You need to know what you're putting on the screen and why. It's one of the simplest things. And this particular film, I did not do that. I mentioned it in my video about storyboarding and visual planning. This is the film where I did not do that. I told my brother I would like to go and shoot something. He said, let's do it. I wrote up a scene. He said, well, if you're going to make it a scene, you might as well make it a whole short film. So that's what I did. I expanded upon it. However, I spent a lot of time in the art department. I spent a lot of time getting costumes made, all this sort of stuff, right? It was a lot of fun, don't get me wrong. But when it came to the shoot, I said, all right, Dom, as my DP, my cinematographer, all right, Dom, just do your thing, man. I had him and my friend Joe, who I made my first feature film with, running first camera, and my brother running second. My brother is DP. That is far from ideal, and I'll explain why as we go. Here we go. I find this shot to be particularly boring. Does it set the mood? I don't know. But it doesn't help that none of it was planned out. Thankfully, the way the scene was formatted is quite linear. This happens, this happens, this happens. And so we were able to construct this in post. But there was no direction as to in what way it needed to be constructed, so there were too many options, in my opinion. Okay, kind of setting the scene, okay, where they're at, and that's good, and that's only due to the instincts of my brother, his good instincts with this sort of stuff, and, you know, experience, but the way in which the scene is set is not particularly effective, in my opinion. You know, it's just a handheld shot. It's just like, it was just shot the way it was. The particular angle wasn't necessarily considered. The height of the camera, all these sorts of things that add an emotional element. Like, do we want to show this character as being, this cultist as being particularly powerful? Maybe we show him coming in from below a bit. You know, I mean, there are lots of considerations, and setting the scene for what's their little layer, and none of those were done. We just shot it. So, could have been more effective, I think. I think this moment works with the sound design and everything. It's maybe a little overdone with the wind, in my opinion, but
Domine tenebris sanguinam bevere et carnam dominus mente.
My actor had never done Latin before. So all of this arrangement of clips and everything, I think that is kind of adds kind of a vague drama and suspense, maybe. It's hard for me to be objective after having seen it so many times, but that arrangement, if it does work, isn't a credit to me. It's really a great credit to the editor, Julius Chavez, who spent a lot of time putting all this together. And it's only due to him being able to arrange things properly that any of this worked at all, which is not where you want to be. You want to not have a guarantee, but have some level of certainty that things are going to work as anticipated because you've planned it out that way, as opposed to hoping that everything will just come together in the edit, which again is one of the great reasons to plan things out thoroughly ahead of time visually. And so same thing with this part. I really like this moment, but again, it only works. So I'm going to go back to it actually. Again, this is not due to my planning as a director, and only credit to the instincts of my DP and the way he shot some of this, right? The way he shot as if it was an onlooker to the scene, which I think adds to the feeling that we want in the scene.
I hear the crawling chaos.
So a lot of this, in fact, leading up to this, but also this part, it was not... There are shots where it shows Bill, the lead cultist, and they're from different parts of the scene, because it was kind of had to be strung together in a strange way in order to just work. There were a lot of things where the editor had to cut around, and it was very time consuming for him, because we had tried to do certain things in the scene, film certain things, like him kind of setting this little ceremonial fire on his table and all that. None of it worked, and it caused continuity issues with the other shots, so we had to find a way to cut around it entirely. Very time consuming, painful, and that due to me not planning that stuff out ahead of time.
Stars beyond the stars. And they created him for their messenger. And they clothed him with chaos. That his form may be ever hidden amidst the stars, and his power,
I think that angle is good.
over the flesh.
And that point is, I think the drama of that point is a little bit lost in the sauce, as we say, because of the way it was shot. It was just captured what was happening. And this choreography in particular, I think, is not, parts of it aren't very good, like that head slam, because it was just impromptu choreography on the spot. The shots weren't thought of beforehand. The choreography wasn't even rehearsed whatsoever. We came up with it on the spot, and that is, if you have plenty of time, okay, it can work. But when you're on a time crunch, as we were, and we were having issues where it was raining on and off, and so we had small windows of time in order to get things done, and it was toward the end of the day, so people were getting tired. It was like, all right, it's getting close to the time when we need to leave. Puts you in that time crunch, doesn't allow you to get things done properly necessarily, and that's another reason why getting that planning done ahead of time is very beneficial.
For he is the mask and the will of those that were. He is the priest of the great ones beyond the stars, and the great dead that lies.
I do enjoy this monologue. Oh, corrupted files.
He is the face of the end and of the beginning. Waves freeze before him. Gods dread his call. In the dreams of mortal
I did
men,
specifically ask for these POV shots. I think they
great
add something.
promise.
Feed him, and we shall be reborn.
And this end shot is okay, but if it hadn't simply been captured in a basic handheld wide, what are all the different creative ways I could have thought of to get the most impact out of the ending to this scene? I mean, I'm sure I could think of a handful offhand, but there are any number of ways I could have done it, but those options simply aren't available to you if you don't try and come up with them ahead of time. When you get on set, your brain power is going to be occupied with solving the problems that you have in that moment and trying to handle things right there. So you're gonna miss opportunities that you might have thought of if you'd spent the time thinking about it earlier. You're also going to prepare to do those particular shots that you maybe want to get if you think of them ahead of time in storyboard, shot list, whatever. You wouldn't believe how long it took me to make that title. Or this end credits. One of the things I am still very proud of and I do really like is this art was done original for me for the project. Again, like I said, I spent a lot of time in the art department stuff. I didn't draw this myself. I had a friend do it, but great work done by everyone who did all the art. But you know, I could have spent some more time in some other areas. Biggest takeaway for me after I made this film was never again will I not know what my film is going to look like more or less before I start shooting. For me, in my opinion, it was a recipe for disaster. It made the process much longer, probably 2 or 3 times longer than it really needed to be in post-production. It made it quite painful. And it led to a film that was less effective than it could have been. And it's hard for me to really evaluate how good my film is or isn't. I think there are some good things about it. I'm not going to say that it's, some award-winning film, but it could have been a lot better given my experience at the time had I thought things out. But learning experience, now I don't do that anymore. Now I plan things out properly. If you have setbacks like this, learning experiences, don't let it stop you. It's part of the learning, growing process as a filmmaker. It's part of that makes it fun is being able to look back and see see what you did right and see what you did wrong and see how far you've come and figure out where you need to go next and how you can improve. And so you can make even better content that's moving for your audience. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to the channel and give the video a like. Hit the alert bell so you can get a notification when we come up with new videos. I have a community, the Storyteller community, on my website, totalstoryteller.com. I send out a weekly newsletter with lots of great content for people, particularly people who want to be directors and producers, but anyone who is in this storytelling arena that we're in. And I send out tips and tricks and guides on productivity and goal setting and all the things that we really need to learn and master if we want to succeed in this crazy business. And I hope to see you in the community. Join the Storyteller community. You won't regret it. Hope to see you next time.